bed above or deep asleep, while greater love lies further deep. This dream must end, this world must move. We all depend on the beast.
In this video, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to plea for you to stop doing something, and I'm going to try to wrap up in flimsy little words my understanding of what God is. There are two things that I'm trying to get across in this video. They're both very difficult for me to do and has resulted in me making numerous failed videos. But this is the last time I'm doing it, so if it's clumsy or ineffective or inefficient, this is the best I can do. We're using words that are far too little to try to describe something that's so big it's infinite. So last time I'm making this video, but I'm going to get across two things to you. The first thing was my plea. This has been the source of a lot of tension in my life. From people in the comment section, emails and text messages, phone calls, YouTube videos, everything, where we're trying to communicate our ideas to each other. It's the word source. Source. You're using this word to try to describe your understanding of God. Stop doing it. Stop using the word source to try to describe God. He, she, lack of pronoun, is not source. This may be a little bit grumpy, but I've made this video about 100 times today, so sorry if I'm a little bit testy. But source is not God. This is why. Source implies separation. I will say that again because it's extremely important. Source implies separation. I'm not separate from my understanding of what God is. Are you separate from your understanding of what God is, or are you part of that being? I believe that you are part of the being that is God. God is an ineffective way to describe this being as well. It's just a bastardization of an Egyptian name, Geb, for a being that is not worthy of the title of God, because God is way bigger than it. But you're a part of it. You're not separate from it. You are an individual ego that is a unique chapter title in the book of life that is the sum total of all of your experiences in different reincarnated forms. This slice of a pie that is your superego, but even that is part of a web of other beings, other superegos, and at it, the central point, the vortex conclusion, that is God. It's everything and nothing. But source implies separation, and this is why. I apologize for the metaphor, but you're getting it. You've worked hard. You want to go relax and enjoy yourself and step back into nature, away from the office or the job site. You strap your kayak to the top of your middle-class SUV and you pack that SUV with a picnic basket filled to the brim with cellophane-wrapped sandwiches and bags of chips and goodies from the cabinets. You take your cooler, you fill it up with your choice beers or soda pops. You carefully fold your blanket in your swim trunks or bathing suit of whatever variety. Gas up the ride and go down to the river's edge. You think, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to unfurl my lawn chair and really get back into the embrace of nature and the world around me. And whenever you get all lathered up with your SPF, you slip on your bathing suit and set your first toe into the H2O, the glittering reflective surface that is so appealing to us that we're almost drawn to it. Whenever you set your first atom of that toe into the water, where are you merging with that river? Where are you going back into the river at? Whenever you become part of that river, whenever you become part of its state of being, you're not doing so at the source of that river, are you? Are you stepping into the source? off of the bank? No. It wasn't found until the 1800s, the source of the River Nile. For 10,000 years, we had no fucking clue where that thing came from. The source implies separation. The purest bottled water is bottled at the source because it hasn't yet been contaminated by the distance downstream to you stepping into it at the river bank. My God is the entire river and also the river bank. I'm always a part of it, and it's always a part of everything. It is everything and nothing. But the source of the river is up the mountain, far from you. So stop using the word source. The source is where the ice and snow melts from the previously cold winter, or where the spring of bubbling water emerges from its dark labyrinth of hidden underground streams and tunnels filled up with itself. It's the source is never actually found because it's always farther downstream. It's like there's really no source to life itself because you can keep going farther back. God is this spiral of experience, like rings of the tree showing growth. Because a spiral implies growth, does it not? You go from the human to the planetary, to the stellar, to the galactic, to the universal, to the multiverse. But also you go from the human to the cell, to the DNA, to the atom, to the subatomic, to the quarks. You have an implied growth that never ends and an implied decay, or an inside out that is also never ending. Infinity on both sides of the spiral. That growth of experience, that accumulation of data and information through a process that is concentric and similar and somewhat cyclical, but spiral. A Fibonacci sequence that is in everything from the blooming of a rose to the snail shell, the conch. This process, this spiral, this phi sequence is very intrinsic to life and experience, and goes a long way to describe this being that people call God or source. But even that is too limited, that idea of phi, to adequately explain this being and all of its various characteristics. But this being is not the source. It's everything. So for that reason, I wanted to call it all for a while, because it's all things, right? It's omnipotent because it's all things. It's omnipresent because it's everywhere. It is everything. But just like source implies separation, all implies an inherent duality that is, to me, in its distilled version, not God. All implies everything, but the being that I consider God in my own internal thoughts is all and not all. Everything and nothing. Creation and destruction. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. All and that which is not all. And Shiva is that which is not. So not only is God matter that's striving to, through a process of life, consciously come to understand itself, but God is also the constantly vibrating hum that is omnipresent within the fabric of space that we call vacuum. Inside of 1 square centimeter of vacuum energy is all of the energy locked inside of all of the matter that's turned out of stars since the Big Bang. Because a little bit of nothing is equal to all of nothing. And that constantly vibrating nothing is the only thing that ever touches something. Positive and negative, up, down, left, right, black and white, all these dualities, you know, they the crests and the valleys of this propagating wave of reality and the multiverse and the space between multiverses where life never bloomed into existence in the first place through whatever set of causalities would have caused that to happen. The proto-atom that existed before the universe and the eventual decay into a completion of time-space, like a huge event horizon in a black hole of universal decay, and the birth of another proto-atom. Everything but nothing. So all isn't at all enough to describe the being that is God. God won't work, all won't work, source won't work. Phi really won't cut it either, because God, to me, is also this distilled emotional quality that is the rainbow merging into that white beam of light. And that distillation of emotional experience has most closely been articulated in the word love, even though love isn't even enough. It's the best we can do. This being that we are, through a process of growth, coming to understand that we are a part of and connected to through, definitely has qualities that are best described as love and the expression of that love through the logos. So if I'm going to try to assign a word to it, Phi is a pretty good description of its characteristics and reality, God, but also love. So take Phi, and stick an L on the end, and you got Phil. L for love, P-H-I-L. And I'm going to go ahead and fill you in on Phil. So here's an application, fill one out, and we have many positions to fill. So please, like I did, make up your own unique title, name, personality for this being that is God. Personalize this concept, this unique concept that's inside of your head, with a name of your own creation. Make up a name for God and call it that name. After all, I mean, you're a unique set of experiences, coming to realize that you are part of something greater than yourself. That unique set of experiences has a name that is unique. That name is a title of experiences that is part of the book of life that has been written since before the foundation of the universe. Your unique color is one stippled dot in this painting that, when you're the right distance away, makes up an image, a pixel on a screen, and that screen is God, your projection of part of it, and you're unique. So just like every hair on your head is accounted for, and every cell in your body made unique in your individual expression in this moment of now that is constantly churning out throughout a completed universe. Just like you're unique, give your ideas of God a unique name. A word you can use whenever you're communicating with it, as a means to both describe it and equate it to yourself. A connection is best had with an individual whenever you first introduce yourselves. So give this being a name of your own creation, because you are a name of its creation. Okay? Don't call it source. Don't call it all. Don't call it God. You can call it Phil if you want to, but Phil is what fills in the gaps for me. Okay? So I'm going to call this being that is the central point of everything and nothing, the spiraled line and the space between the lines. I'm going to call this being Phil. But don't call it source anymore, please. Please, God, stop calling it source. To me, it sounds so new agey, and I want to barf every time I hear it now. Please, in your experiences, your digestion of data that is your unique thoughts, give it a unique name. It deserves one. It's been part of you since the very beginning. Might as well get to know its name. And if this being could be best summed up as a thing, I would have to say that around this being's head orbit imaginations. The imaginative ideas, these thoughts or conscious creations, daydreams and storytelling, this internal dialogue in our head. This is what orbits around God's head. Just like planets orbiting around a star or stars around a galactic central focus of mass. Our ideas are the revolutionary matter of God's being. Okay? So please use your imagination and think of a name that's unique to you for it, which is unique. And your connection to it is unique as well. Everything and nothing, baby. We all are and all aren't. But please, recognize yourself as part of it. And never let your understanding of it start to diminish or be limited by a set of dogmatic guidelines for belief. Please. And if you're going to try to accumulate a completed understanding of this being, recognize that love is a huge part of this equation, as well as interconnectedness and growth and decay and experience. So there we go. My plea to you, stop using the word source. In my clumsy attempt to try to describe this being that is a mouthful, especially from this foolish mouth. So I'm not nearly smart enough to do this. Fill in several of the comments section, fill in areas so you can fill me in on what I've laid out for you guys and tried to masticate mentally until it was digestible. No one will ever achieve this, so this is the last time I'm making this video. I've done it, like I said, a lot tonight. I can't remember what I've said or not said anymore since I've recorded hours of this exact fucking rambling. Just let me know what you think in the comment section. Give me your name for this being, because it's above every other consciousness that has ever pretended, feigned, or mislabeled itself as God. Be creative, be imaginative, fill me in. I love each and every one of you guys. Love you guys to death. And oh, by the way, I have several other videos I plan on making tonight, which I'm not going to spend nearly as much time trying to sum up with clumsy words in such a meticulous manner. I'm just going to spit these videos out. Here's some of the ideas I have for these videos I plan on making tonight. Tell me what you think. Maybe vote on which one you want to hear next. Like I said, I'm making these tonight. So the Elora Cave Complex is number 1. In its relation to teeth in the human mouth, the number 32, and the Gnostic message hidden in the Bible about chewing being the reincarnation process. So 32 and its secret Gnostic meaning. That's number 1. Number 2, I wanted to talk about giant birds, like the Holst eagle or giant condors or possibly even petrosaurs, and their domestication, us stealing giant eggs in our prehistoric times long ago and raising these giant flying creatures to get across the oceans that separated continents in times long since past. So giant birds being raised by ancient societies to disseminate themselves throughout the planet. That's number 2. I wanted to talk about the alphabet and its secret hieroglyphic meanings behind the letters that I've decoded. That would be number 3. I also had some ideas about Yellowstone and its eruption, number 4, and its relation to the 13th pillar, the yellow pillar, the Yellowstone, the golden ladder. Also want to talk about Mary Magdalene, which I guess would be number 5. Number 6, I want to talk about tulpas, Tibetan thought forms that are created through our belief in them, our imagination creating substantive physical matter. And the last one, Johnny Cash and his secret Gnostic messages, especially in his song, The Man Comes Around. So, yeah, those are some of my ideas, thoughts, whatever. And I really want to talk about them all at some point. So give me a vote, shout out, tell me what you think you'd like to hear most out of that list I just gave you guys, if you're still watching at this point. So, love you guys. Y'all have a great night. Peace out. And plenty of time to communicate, so holler.